If I had a nickel for every time we'd make a video about an Arizona-Anaheim game wherein TREVOR ZEGRAS gets involved in a very big scrum, I'd have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's saying something that has happened twice. Let's talk about yesterday's Anaheim versus Arizona game, because what happened in the midst of the second period with about 6 minutes to go, the score is tied 1-1. You had yourselves another one of these moments where TREVOR ZEGRAS ends up getting involved, and he ends up pissing off a bunch of these Arizona Coyotes. Now, last time we had talked about this, it was in a video with ZEGRAS and Jay Beagle, and I think there was a Michigan attempt in there somewhere, and the thumbnail was one of the best thumbnails I feel like I've ever made on the YouTube channel. It was incredible, with Louis Eriksson holding the guy back and everything. Unfortunately, this time around, there aren't a group of several pictures, let alone even one individual picture of this scrum going on, so I'm just going to have to creatively think of something to put here. But today we're talking about TREVOR ZEGRAS, and we're talking about the scrum he had with Troy Stecher of the Arizona Coyotes, and what happened in last night's game. By now, you've probably seen the video, but I just wanted to go out there and summarize it just in case. I'm not going to put it on the screen because that's copyrighted material and I don't want to get sued, but the Ducks and the Coyotes are in a scrum. It's on the half boards, and you have one TREVOR ZEGRAS whose helmet has come off. You see the referee in between ZEGRAS and Troy Stecher. ZEGRAS is yelling at Stecher, and he's got a few things to say to the Arizona former Vancouver Canucks defenseman. The referee's still there. The camera ends up panning to Adam Henrique, who, I mean, look, this is not really a look of aggression, I would say. Instead, it's more so like a pensive sort of look. He doesn't look too guilty. He doesn't look too aggravated like he's fighting the fight with the rest of the Ducks out there. The camera pans to Mason McTavish, who kind of looks on the same way. Then the camera goes back over to ZEGRAS, and he's still mouthing off to Troy Stecher. This is where the video gets interesting, because ZEGRAS and his right hand ends up making a gesture that sort of seems like he's pointing upwards, and after he yells a little bit more at Troy, this is when Stecher gets absolutely pissed the F off, and he starts going at ZEGRAS even more. You see the referees have to get involved further. Stecher looks angrier than he had maybe like 10 seconds beforehand in the video. The referee is bear-hugging Stecher, and he's yelling even more angrily at ZEGRAS once again. The broadcast people say that they can't read lips, but if they had to guess, it looks like he had said, "I don't like it." And then you have TREVOR ZEGRAS, who got himself a 10-minute misconduct before coming back and scoring the 2-1 goal to win the game in overtime. Now, the roughing penalty was not actually assigned in a ZEGRAS to Stecher sort of moment. It was actually ZEGRAS and Barrett Hayton. That's the roughing call that was given to ZEGRAS that gave him the 10-minute misconduct, but it's really interesting to note that a roughing penalty was severe enough to warrant a game misconduct. Like, when was the last time you had seen that? Roughing? Okay, that's a 2-minute minor, but giving a 10-minute misconduct for only roughing, that's very intriguing to me. And there wasn't any penalties called of ZEGRAS and Stecher in any confrontation, it was just ZEGRAS and Hayton. Now, there are some expert lip readers out there on social media that have taken this clip of ZEGRAS and Stecher fighting it out and tried to expand more so on what it is that ZEGRAS actually says. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say that I'm a personal, expert lip reader myself. I'm not going to say that I can verify that this happened, but based off of what the growing sentiment appears to be, and again, this is all just speculation, I don't know if this is 100% truth, it appears that ZEGRAS said something along the lines of, "Your dad's watching," and then he points to the sky, something involving Stecher's father, which is a very sensitive point for the guy, because his father did indeed unfortunately pass away a few years ago, quite early. Now, I showed you one tweet of this apparently being the case, but there are many people with their own interpretations of what exactly it was that he had said based off of the video footage and the lip reading, but there isn't really any other hypothesis that's being thrown out there. Everybody that's trying to dissect a clip is all really alluding to just one thing. ZEGRAS might have taken a shot at Stecher and his dad, and he pointed up to the sky, indicating that, okay, your father's watching or whatever. That might have been the case, that might not have been the case, we don't know for sure, but at this moment in time, a lot of people who have watched the clip seem to agree that this was probably what was said. And that's kind of, look, they call it trash talk for a reason. It's supposed to be trash. It's supposed to be in the garbage. It's not supposed to really be filtered, but that's low. That's really, really low. And I think if there was some sort of a reason to give a guy a 10-minute roughing game misconduct because of it, I feel like that's a pretty justifiable reason. Now, of course, it's not listed in the game sheet that it was specifically because Zegras did something to Stecher that he got that 10-minute roughing call, but maybe there was something that was done externally that allowed the referees to say, okay, no, we're going to give him that 10 minutes. Like, he kind of needs it. Now, of course, we know he is still a skilled hockey player. He came back and he won the game in overtime, but, like, it's kind of crazy how this is the second time this has happened. Not specifically between Zegras and, like, a team, but between Zegras and Arizona. Like, I know last time you could kind of say that it was sort of in the wrong for Jay Beagle to go after Zegras because of the Michigan attempts, but, like, this time around, assuming that's actually what went on, then, yeah, no, I kind of understand why the Arizona Coyotes may want to go out there and, take a few runs at the guy next game. Is there even a next game? I don't know. They're not Pacific Division rivals anymore, so who knows if that's going to be the case. But, yeah. TREVOR ZEGRAS, eh? The poster boy for the NHL with the crazy dangles and the crazy skills and the fact that he's singing Taylor Swift lyrics in the arena is also the guy who allegedly made fun of Troy Stecher's unfortunate situation. Now, I've seen a lot of people coming out of hiding and throwing the opinion out there that they never really liked Zegras in the first place. He's come across as spoiled and a brat and everything in the interviews, and, like, you know, I mean, we've known that Zegras has been a big talker this whole time. Ever since he was drafted, he was a big talker, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that sort of sentiment. The guy's got a personality, the guy's got an attitude, and not like an attitude like, oh, he's, like, tough to coach or whatever, but, like, an attitude towards making, like, funny quips or whatever, like, saying things in a way that you could tell he knows what he's talking about. And so, having a sophisticated kind of chirp like that was really, really effective in pissing off Troy Stecher. Sure, it gets the job done in pissing the guy off, but, like, at the end of the day, that crosses a few lines. So, TREVOR ZEGRAS, dude, I'm gonna be very intrigued as to seeing how the rest of the NHL sort of responds and how they treat this guy in scrums and everything in the next few games. I'm gonna be very intrigued as to seeing the next Anaheim and Arizona game, because Stecher, I mean, he's a very emotional guy, a very heart and soul type of defender who really puts it all on the line every single shift. Like, he blocks shots, he gets into the scrums, he fights the good fight, and as a guy who had watched Stecher become what he is today ever since signing with the Canucks from the University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux all those years ago, going to all the teams that he had went to, LA, Detroit, now Arizona, it's been a really good treat seeing the type of defenseman that Stecher has become. And so, when it comes to guys that quote-unquote deserve that sort of chirp to be thrown their way, yeah, no, Stecher's not that guy. He doesn't deserve that. And him getting very pissed off is kind of justified, in my opinion. But either way, you could talk to the comments, say your thoughts about Zegras and Stecher, this entire thing that happened. How weird is it that Zegras has gotten into two big scrums with Arizona players the past little while here? And what are your thoughts on the entire situation as a whole? Can you read lips? If you can, let me know in the comments what you think that he actually said, because everybody's going out there with differing sort of sentences as to what it might have been, but it all sort of falls into that umbrella of making fun of Troy Stecher's unfortunately passed away father. So, talk to the comments your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this. Finish your hours for 9, and bye.